Let's explore a fascinating idea. What if your dominant thoughts acted like a magnet, attracting experiences that match their frequency? How would this reshape the way you think? Today's talk time, we're going to explore this idea. I'm going to be talking to Teresa Saunders, my fellow colleague, and also we're going to, think about it from a hypnotic point of view, how hypnotherapists work with clients and thinking about changing that mindset of attraction.
Hi Meredith, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. And yourself?
Very well, thank you. Looking forward to this week's topic.
When we're thinking about, I guess, the thoughts attracting things, what's the first thing that pops into your mind?
I think self reflection in one of the things, what thoughts do I find myself repeating most often? And what's
Mm,
happening when I
mm,
keep repeating those thoughts? What's actually happening in my day to day life?
yeah. Often we don't even really do an audit of the nature of the thought, thinking it's not really going to make a big difference. No one can hear it. It's okay. But on the inside, it's really rubbish. And it probably isn't maybe bringing out the best in you. So I do invite my clients to really do a bit of an audit and an edit of those thought streams, because where you put attention, where attention goes, energy flows, right?
For sure, and it becomes a habit, doesn't it? We slip into these habits so quickly, and our day starts off bad because something minor, perhaps very trivial, even happens, and then it just escalates because you sort of say, "Well, I knew that was going to happen because I spilt the coffee and I had to change my clothes before I went out the door, so I was going to be late," and it just spirals, doesn't it?
Maybe it's our inner knowing that somehow our state of mind is attracting our luck.
Just like a magnet.
When we're thinking about the law of attraction, that was a very, I guess, global phenomena of people thinking, yeah, am I attracting the life that I want?
Well, it's looking, isn't it? It's like your thoughts are energy. If we go back to energy, everything has energy.
Mm.
So, what do magnets actually do? Um, and I guess also, if you look at your environment and what's happening, that also affects how you feel and what's going to happen to you within that day to some extent.
I like to think about the Torah field, like the field in a tree. If you imagine a tree comes out of the ground and it branches out, and then the leaves fall down, and then they break up and they get reinvigorated back into the tree, and it's this like wonderful field. And if we see even the field around iron like filings, that you've got a magnets and you've got the north and south pole, and you've got a piece of paper and you put the little iron filings on, and you can sort of see then those little poles. Well, there is a field in the earth, there's a field in us, there's a field in everything, that everything has these fields around it. And definitely we're attracting from the thoughts we think certain experiences in our lifetime, I reckon.
So, what are your thoughts then about positive affirmations and visualization practice
Mm.
um, with that?
I think it's really important if we can really get clear and clean about setting an intention that's positive, rather than focusing on what you don't want, really focusing on what is it that I do want. I want to feel happy. Okay, let's think about what happy really means, and what would I be affirming if I want to affirm happiness in my life? Would I need to say to myself, I deserve happiness? Does it start there? Right?
It's an interesting thing that you actually bring up because when we ask somebody what they actually want, how often do people tell us what they actually want? They often turn around and say, "Well, I don't really want this to happen."
Yeah. They focus on what they don't, the don'ting speech, right?
For sure.
So if we're going to find what the doing speech is, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be calm, I'm going to be confident, I'm going to ace this. So, that internal positive attitude goes a long way, right?
It does, and I think also limiting ourselves to negative influences, unprotected social media, news that's like, those things that the frequency can change our mood by just watching. Because quite often you switch on the news and you want to hear what's going on, but it's so doom and gloom.
Mm. I learned a lesson actually many years ago. I noticed I was actually checking in on the news too often during my day, yet the news hadn't changed much. And I thought, what am I
Mm.
doing here? I keep on looping back to the doomsday scrolling. And it was like building this icky feeling, I noticed, and it would carry into my day somehow through the thoughts, the way that I was filtering the world. Maybe my pessimism levels were rising up a little bit. It wasn't bringing me happy thoughts. It was just bringing me frustration thoughts. And that was affecting my own thoughts about how I felt about my life and that sort of thing. So I actually stopped listening to the news. I literally tuned off. I just
Well, I
quit
mean,
it.
mm. We've had, a recent global event that actually caused so much anxiety in people, didn't we, with COVID? You think how that was advertised through social media and on the news, and that
Mm.
really did change people's focus and mindset by listening to all what was going on.
So when we think about collective consciousness and the thoughts of many, we know that when people meditate together, they can affect change. So there are definitely mind exercises or mind experiments that have been done with masses of people meditating at the same time to affect change. And so when we're thinking about our thought frequency and positive affirmations, yeah, they are something. They're not just nothing. We are what we think. Our experience is guided by the filter that we're looking through. Look, if we're in a funky mood and we have a perfectly fine day, we will find fault in it.
Mm.
But if we are coming into that day and we're practicing tuning into a more positive focus, like we're going to go treasure hunting today, and it's a perfectly fine day, we're going to find treasure.
For sure, it's like when you meet people as well, isn't it? About having those positive thoughts and enjoying that interaction with others. I mean, sometimes we're not always in a social sort of mood, and we'd rather stay at home and blob out and be on ourselves. But when you get out, if you've gone out with that mindset, you often find that your experience out isn't more negative one. Whereas if you actually go out and you think, yeah, I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to learn one interesting fact about the people, every person I interact with. Your experience is going to be so much different.
100%. And that's where I want to invite guys out there to really tune in and maybe do an audit of your thoughts. Start to pay attention to what am I thinking often and frequently that may be getting in the way of me attracting the things I want to attract. And do I need to change that up? Do I need to change that and shift that to working on what I want like to attract? What would that look like, sound like, feel like? Let's dream about it. Let's start to imagine it as if it's happened already, because that's magical. It sends a signal out into the universe and it starts to attract things to you that is a match to that frequency of belief.
Mm. A gratitude journal is another good thing to actually do at the end of the day. Sit down, and I mean, people say, "Oh, I don't have time, I'm always busy," but you can find a few moments to sit down, or you can do it audio at the end of the day. If you're not a good writer, you can actually record on your phone, say
Mm,
5 or 10 things that you've been grateful for that day, and see
mm.
how your mindset changes. Think of it at the beginning of the week and give yourself a number, and then reflect in a week's time and see if there's been any shift.
Absolutely. Great idea, Teresa. And on that note, like if anyone has gone and done that exercise, let us know how it went in the comments, right? We'd love to hear from you. Being a hypnotherapist and working on the power of thoughts and letting that person kind of discover what it is that they want to attract, what it is that they want to attract like a magnet into their life, to be able to hold space with someone and get them to really go inward. There's a part, I believe, there's a part within everyone, I liken it to an inner compass, that knows what feels right. And when you come across it, it just goes ding, ding, ding. Yes, it
Mm.
gets excited. And so when we do a hypnotic journey with someone, that's an opportunity for that client to start to touch that thought, to start to interact with that and play with that idea, right?
It's about it's about being curious and playing and letting your mind play. Just because we're adults, we don't have to be serious all the time, you know?
Mm.
Just let free and yeah, let your imagination go wild. Create your possibilities.
So the strong emotion wins. So when we're thinking about frequency and thoughts, if we can make it bigger, brighter, bolder, if we can make that emotion stronger and brighter, we actually start to attract it more. It's like our signal goes up, right?
Mm.
So
Yeah, the
so this
frequency.
is, yeah, and also we remember it better. So we are going to notice the universal signposts of opportunity to get on board and say yes to that moment, because already we were experiencing that want for that moment to come to us. And then when it arrives, we're ready for it, rather than
Mm.
the automatic, oh no, no, I wouldn't enjoy that, and pushing an opportunity away.
We have to step out of our comfort zone, I think, sometimes as well. And if we
Mm,
don't push ourselves a little bit, we're not going to grow.
mm.
We're not going to flourish and bloom.
Absolutely. That just reminds me, for those that don't know, I was really ill last week and I wasn't able to speak. It was rather interesting. Anyway, I had laryngitis, so you can probably still hear it in my voice. But anyway, out of the end of that, I discovered this thing called a hand pan, which is these little things that you can play. It's not really little, it's actually quite big. So at the end of my illness, I went online and went out and bought one. It came home and started playing. But it was something that I had in my mind actually a number of years ago. But when I was in such a sort of low state where I couldn't really do much for a week, it made me start to reflect, what can I do in this moment that's going to be therapeutically a beginning of something new? And so I did a meditation and I was sitting in the bath and I was listening to this handpan music, meditation kind of music vibe. And I was meditating and I'm like, that makes sense to me. I need one of those instruments in my life. Now, I couldn't play it. Look, it's not something I'd ever touched before. So I come home and I can't even get it to sound right. And then, I don't know, about 10 minutes in of playing, I suddenly worked it out, and suddenly it got more and more interesting, and I could start to make normal noises from it. But when we're kind of looking at that art of play and the art of attraction, I have a great belief that if you follow that like inner gut, that little inner compass, you'll find a way. So I went online to go, oh, where do you find these things? And there are ones 2,000 plus from overseas. I'm like, well, after duty and time spent shipping it here and all of that stuff, I kind of wanted it one now. I didn't want to wait. So I thought, there must be one in New Zealand. I was willing to get in the car and drive 5Ks, or not five, but 500 Ks away to go and get one from up north or whatever. But I thought, no, there must be one in Wellington. So I did more of a search. And sure enough, within 15 minutes drive from where I lived, there was one waiting for me at a really reasonable price. And the woman said to me, so how long have you been looking? I said, oh, since this morning. So,
Yep. Art of attraction.
Absolutely. So when we're looking at feeling it and noticing the movement and the timing, timing's perfect. Like if something's meant to be, it will come into the beingness really easily. If it's not, then it will be elusive. But it doesn't mean never. It just means sometimes there might be another wave that has to come through with the timing for that all to click into place. And often, look, hindsight, we can look back, can't we? And we can go, so I now know why that order needed to happen.
Mm. Yeah, I do
So it's,
believe there's a reason for everything,
yeah,
and everything happens at the perfect timing.
because I think it's very easy to get into that negative Nancy moment where you go, nothing ever happens the way I want it to, and rah, rah, rah. Well, actually, maybe it does, but you're not looking at it in the right way. So if we can kind of be patient and understand, not everything will be always in the conscious timing you think it must be, but if we have amplified our trust that the timing when it's time will be shown, and then we're paying attention as we're moving through life, I think that's a big part of that belief cycle attracting that we're ready for.
For sure.
Mm. So on that note, I hope you've enjoyed today's little discussion. We're going to do more of these on the frequency of thinking. So tune in again for another one next week. Is there anything else you would like to add before we finish up for this one today?
I'm just looking forward to everyone starting to interact with us and to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, which would be amazing. And I look forward to discussing further next week with you, Meredith.
Nice. Thank you, Teresa. It's been wonderful having you. And if you are interested in training as a hypnotherapist, you can always check out the NZACH website. So I will have the link below as well. So you can also subscribe, like and follow and all of that stuff. If you like this kind of conversation, let us know what you think. And if there are any questions or topics you'd like us to talk about, we'd love to hear from you. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and bye for now.
Bye.